Good morning, everybody. Hopefully enjoyed the first session. Welcome back for the first formal session, I suppose, of this week's Lancashire Innovation Festival. And today the theme is all digital. So what better way to kick off than a conversation about e-commerce. Of course, our prowess in the county for e-commerce incredibly strong. A rich history of retail, and now future of e-commerce is definitely something that we do incredibly well in the county. So I'm really pleased this morning that we've got a great panel of three people from across the county who have just fantastic pedigree in the space. So I'll allow everybody to introduce themselves. So start with yourself, Alison.
Hi, I'm Alison Chesworth from ekm.com. We are the UK's largest e-commerce platform, powering 1 out of every 5 online shops in the UK, with over £500 million a year going through EKM retailer stores.
Hi, I'm Melanie McKay. I'm a digital strategy consultant, but I also have 2 bricks and mortar shops here in Lancaster, so I'm bridging a gap, I guess.
My name's Dan Prince. I'm a senior lecturer in cybersecurity at Lancaster University. And the university is one of a few universities in the UK which has NCSE recognition for education and for research, and our cybersecurity master's degree is also certified by them. So it's particularly exciting to hear about the National Cyber Force coming to Lancashire.
I'm sure I'm going to ask a little bit about that news as well in a few moments' time, Dan. So thanks very much. But as well to you, everybody in the audience, we've got the Q&A open. So if anybody's got any questions that you'd like to fire into the panel, then we'll be keeping an eye on the Q&A. Please do feel free, and we'll ask people and engage in the conversation in the chat as well. Later on, there'll be a short survey for you to complete, just to tell us what you think about innovation in Lancashire. So I'm going to kick off by really going to out onto the shop floor and asking Melanie. Good morning, Melanie. Thanks for coming. It's been an interesting year. We've had this conversation before about the last 12 months in retail and e-commerce, but you're really embedded in that retail community of Lancaster. As you say as well, you bridge that gap because you know e-commerce incredibly well. What have you found that people have been, retailers have been doing themselves to really push into the e-commerce space? What innovation have you seen people using over the last year and a half as e-commerce has really pushed forward now?
Well, to seasoned professionals like Alison and Dan, getting an e-commerce website isn't necessarily innovative, but for a lot of small retailers, it's been a huge step. And that's something we've seen here in Lancashire. We've seen it more broadly across the UK, but small businesses, real mom and pop enterprises have started trading online using a variety of different online platforms. And again, Alison can probably speak a little bit on this in a sec. The other thing that you're seeing is a lot more social. So the use of social media for a selling space has been phenomenal. It's something that in my e-commerce life 2 or 3 years ago, we were a little bit dismissive of social selling. It's been probably the lifeblood for a lot of small businesses during the pandemic.
What you mentioned about social, I think it's something I come across quite regularly now, but what sort of things are people doing? What sort of platforms are people using? What sort of technology is getting?
So the social media platforms, Facebook and Shopify in particular, have their own shop functionality. And if you're with a number of different platforms, they'll have an integration piece. So a lot of times there's an API that's throwing your products back onto the social media shops to shop on. People are doing things like listing using seek and sell environments as well. So shops that haven't actually gotten an online inventory are actually using those sort of native spaces to sell their wares, and also just through community pages and community spaces.
So it's really changing the dynamic of e-commerce, isn't it? Alison, EKM is one of the big success stories of the county, of course, and indeed of the UK in allowing people to sell online. So tell us, you must be dealing with people every day, customers who have been through so many challenges. What's the last 18 months been like for you, and what, any stories that you can tell us that people are telling you, any success stories, any specific innovations and exciting stuff going on?
There's loads of exciting. I think e-commerce, the last 18 months in particular, has forced e-commerce on about 5 years. from where it was. Those who maybe had a retail presence and an online shop but didn't really pay any attention to their online shop, it became the lifeblood of what they were doing. And it was really, for us, it was really humbling to see just how amazing our customers were and our shop owners. You'd see them doing things, putting themselves, getting the phones, doing Facebook Lives, doing them at set times every week to try and get people shopping from them. We had arguments with MPs who were telling people that they couldn't go into their online shops to distribute products, so we had to get on the back and say, yes, you are allowed to distribute. People have got to remember that these small businesses were the lifeline of communities, they were the lifeline of the UK economy. And when someone tells you in a higher position that you can't do something, that's wrong. It was wrong. It was so wrong. And they were allowed to go and deliver. They were allowed to go into their online shop. They just weren't allowed people to come in. And they did absolutely amazing. It's been, honestly, out of my whole career, the last 18 months to see small business owners adapt and evolve just to create these amazing businesses and to use technologies that they might not have been familiar with, that are scary, that like you were saying about earlier, we talk about innovation and it being like this big thing of all like AR, AI, but most of that stuff, it's not been available. The 5G capabilities only just coming. And even in EKM, in our platform, we've had a lot of this technology there, but people have never used it and they've not been used to using it. So it's been a real transformation in terms of how people work and what they're doing, and it's just been absolutely phenomenal to see what small business owners have achieved. We've had companies that did have retail shops that have then gone on to buy warehouses, that have then gone on to open more shops, take on more people. So it's just been absolutely amazing to see how business owners can adapt to a situation that's thrown at them that not one of us could have imagined 2 years ago.
I think it's a really interesting point. Melanie, just on that, I mean, for both of you then, Alison and Melanie, we always kind of think, and I think Graham kind of alluded to this morning, that we always think that, the innovation is about the technology. But what I think I'm hearing there from both of you is actually, no, it's so much more about the people and actually how groups of retailers, e-commerce have come together and sort of learnt off one another. Is that something that you'd say you've seen? Have you?
Definitely. What do you think, Melanie?
No, absolutely agreed. The innovation has been in people learning to look differently at something that perhaps has been there for quite some time and to embrace it, whereas previously it might have been something that, as Alison said, was scary or just unknown.
Do you think that comes with having good role models? I know yourself in Lancaster, Melanie, you know tech, but there are other retailers for whom that's, they're behind on that journey. Do you think part of it's about having good role models, Alison, people that you can follow closely?
I think for like EKM, we've got a Facebook community,
right? So
that every person who's on the EKM shopping platform, users, they talk to each other, they tell each other what's going right, tell each other what's going wrong. Lay-by, for example, one of our partners are doing an event this week, which will mean that any of our EKM shops can sign up for and be on their promotion page. And all the other customers are telling all our other customers about it so that they know to get involved, because they said you need to make sure you've got all your stock ready because it goes on fire. So it's been that where people have been brought together in different ways to what they maybe would have been before as well.
Smashing. I'm going to come over to you now, Dan. Lancaster University, yourself, your team, and the work you do, just superb excellence in cybersecurity. And it's really interesting, of course, because I think we've seen this for so many, as we've kind of just discussed there, so many e-commerce businesses have gone through this just incredible growth of the last 18 months because of the circumstances around that. Just tell us, I mean, obviously from your point of view, what sort of support do you give to businesses, and particularly now thinking about the rapid growth that those businesses have gone through, what are the cyber challenges that lie within all of that?
Yeah, so we've got a number of support programs around innovation that we work closely with companies to work on what we call cyber innovation. And we've got one in Lancashire, but we also do some work in Greater Manchester as well. And we've also got some other programs that are focusing just on digital, I say just on digital innovation. But I think picking up on the points that have been mentioned earlier, it's the innovation that we try and help companies to develop is very much people focused. Thinking about their customer, thinking about how their business operates, thinking about the strategy. That's where it's got to come from. And then also thinking about the people in the business. They're going to have to implement that innovation, right? So innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't get driven just by technology. It's driven by people and it's driven by consumers. So unless you start to think about all of that, the technology, as great as it might be, is largely irrelevant. And one of the other things is we try not to really distinguish between like e-commerce companies. I mean, from our point of view, pretty much every company these days is a digital company. The underpinning is digital. I mean, you can't start a company these days without it being digital because you have to register it online, right? So, from the outset, there has to be some sort of digital presence. And one of the things that we know is vitally important to anything digital is trust and confidence. We've spoken about new technologies and building trust and understanding that. And the same goes for your clients, your consumers, and your customers. You move to a new platform, you have a new technology innovation. How do you get them to trust that? How do you get them to engage with that? How do you get them to build confidence? And cybersecurity is a key part to that, demonstrating that you've got the right protections in place, that you're going to look after them in the same way that you would look after them coming into the shop. I mean, it's an extension of that customer service, right? You bring them into the shop, you talk to them, you ask them about their products that they were after, the products that you sell, you offer ideas, you look after your customers. Cybersecurity is a mechanism by which you look after your customers and you help them to gain trust and confidence in what you're doing in your business.
Fantastic. Dan, I mentioned it earlier, but I think we can't go beyond this morning without asking you briefly. Big news yesterday for the county in terms of the National Cyber Security Centre, which is due to open in Samlesbury, and just your thoughts there.
I mean, it's massively important for the region. We were discussing earlier, looking at the economic change that the BBC had moving into Salford. It's of that kind of magnitude, and obviously for us, it's really interesting how the region's going to be able to respond to the innovation that they're going to need. I mean, cybersecurity is a really innovative environment. You have to constantly be updating your own knowledge and skills to be able to respond to what the attackers are doing. And so there's loads of opportunities within the region, not just for perhaps what people might think of as the traditional suppliers to the defence industry, but the growth that's going to come from such a major operation coming in, all the support services that we've heard about earlier, all the capabilities that we're going to need just to support the several thousand people that are going to come into the region. It's a real economic opportunity and a real opportunity for innovation. So I think and then obviously for businesses, working within that supply chain, you're going to have to take cybersecurity very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great, as you say, and I guess it will have knock-on effect to all sectors and e-commerce as well, and really help lift the county's prowess in that space. So as we start to look towards the future, Melanie, again, back to you. In terms of businesses that are out there right now that are those that are moving forward at pace, but also those that perhaps do need to do a bit more to catch up and keep up. What do you think businesses need to be thinking about, business owners need to be doing to really keep going and start really kickstart their recovery now? What sort of things would you be advising if somebody came to you and said, what should I do with my business? How should I really start to drive?
The temptation to go, stop, hammer time is huge, but oh wait, I just did that. No, I would actually say to people, stop for a second. One of the things Dan just mentioned, the customer, who's your customer? Where are they going online? What do you want to do? How do you want to approach this? Your stock, your data, and I'm sure you've seen this loads. People go, I want to go online. And you're like, yeah, okay, so where's your data files? Oh, what? Oh, we keep an inventory in a logbook. Where's your photography? Oh, well, I took some photos on my iPhone. So it's really about getting those basics, those fundamentals right before you even start looking at who's your e-commerce partner. What do I have to worry about with cybersecurity? It's really fundamental stuff. And that's where, because in one of my businesses is a yarn shop, in that community we've got a group online, and there are so many different levels of shopkeeping. Yeah. And there are people who really do keep a ledger in a little notebook that they've kept since 2001, and there are people who've got online platforms and Excel sheets, or one of the people I'm actually working with as a mentor, she has an Excel sheet. So at least when she moves to a platform, that's going to be straightforward. Yeah. Someone else, it's going to be a real challenge. So I think it's just those fundamental, what are the things that you need to speak to your customer? Where is your customer waiting? If they're on Facebook, they're online. So how are you going to engage with them in that space?
Just, you mentioned that, we touched on it earlier. How do you see, we've talked about the staff there, but how do you see customers evolving? Are customers evolving in that space as well?
Oh, customers are funny. I was saying to these guys earlier, it's I get people who won't use contactless cards. Really? But I still get people who are sort of afraid because they're concerned about the heebie-jeebies, you stealing their data. In saying that, though, anecdotally, I would say most of the people that use Apple Pay to buy things in my shop are over 50. So you are, I think there are assumptions that we make about consumers, and there's the reality. And when you're in a small business, it is always anecdotal. When you're dealing with larger data sets, you guys can build a better picture of what's really happening. But customer behaviors, I'm sure the penetration of use of online and online through mobile in the last 18 months has just skyrocketed for a reason. And that is partially down to cybersecurity and people feeling more comfortable, also partially due to circumstances, and as Alison said, really just everything shutting down. So there definitely are these evolutions, and there are going to be more and more and more. It's just trying to find out where they're going to be and be with them when they happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Alison, coming back to you then with eCommerce and the success that you've had of a business and how you move forward, I suppose being developing a big tech platform, it needs lots of resource, but also that kind of culture of innovation as well. So just be interested to hear from you, if you could tell us a little bit about recruiting in Lancashire, staff, how you've built your team. We all know the eCommerce slide. We've all seen the pictures of the fantastic headquarters. But tell us about how you continue to innovate in the business and how you manage the staff to do that.
Well, for those who don't know, we built a massive HQ that costs an absolute fortune about 4 or 5 years ago, and for the last 2 years it's been shut. We've told all our team that they can work from home, but we are encouraging people back into the office. We think it's really important, especially for young people, to start coming in and collaborating. So we are really encouraging that. We're doing as much as we can to get people back in. But we've always known that Lancashire is the place to be. It's amazing. We have amazing universities. We've got UCLan, Edge Hill, Lancaster. Every single one of those has amazing talent, and they are there ready and waiting. Anyone that comes to Lancashire loves Lancashire. It's a beautiful place. Everyone who lives here should try being a tourist for a day and just go around and just see how much there is. You have the countryside on your doorstep, the beaches, literally everything you could want to live and bring up a family or just be you, is here in Lancashire with the talent. And we've always had a big ethos at eCommerce that you've always got to be continually evolving. So our talent that comes through is always encouraged to be evolving. We hold book clubs, we encourage people to watch YouTube videos. You can have 1 year's experience repeated 10 times. That's no good to any business. You've got to be there as a person, getting better every single day. And that's one thing that we're huge about. So I'd encourage any businesses, wherever you are, to encourage your people to continually learn, watch YouTube videos, podcasts, anything. Speak to people, speak to the universities, speak to your friends, speak to other business people, find mentors. They don't have to be somebody who's done amazing. They can just be someone who you get on with, or who could give you a point in the right direction. I think that's really important, is that the talent here is amazing, and I will bang on about it. We have the best tech talent right here in Lancashire, and we know that, and we're able to build amazing companies with those people here as our partners and people that choose to work for us, and we're really, really proud of that.
That's incredibly interesting, because I think a lot of the time when you speak to business owners or people who kind of work in the tech sectors of the county, often the conversation is about actually a talent drain away from Lancashire. But what I'm hearing there is that actually, you know, doing the work, doing the legwork. I mean, how do you do that? Is it recruitment? How do you engage with the university? How do you find the really great people and get them into your business?
I think it's a long game. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. I've been doing e-commerce for 20 years, near enough. So it's like the relationships you build day one come back later on. Every time, so I'm giving my time to be here today to talk to you, to talk to anyone who's watching. It matters. It matters to inspire people. It matters to tell them what you're doing. And it's those sort of things that creating relationships with universities is important. Creating relationships with college, going in, telling young people about what you do, what opportunities there are for them. So many people do not do that. It doesn't take much to find out who is the person that looks after that course or looks after that college or looks after that university. Get out there and be part of your communities and make a difference.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, a lot of the time there's assumptions that young people coming into the businesses, you know, it'd be hard, difficult, but it sounds like the experience that you've got is just giving people a chance. They tend to prove you that they can do a good job.
Yeah, and don't, you know, a lot of businesses might have a tick box to work to. I find the people that have been out there and done a job in a cafe, a bar, a restaurant, they come with additional skills that not just a degree is going to give you. So that would be my encouragement to all young people, is to go out and to if you enjoy doing stuff in your own time, do stuff in your own time. Show us what you can do. Take someone's website and show me a different version of it. Take a project and make it your own. It doesn't have to be given to you at college or uni. It can be, that'd be brilliant, but it doesn't have to be. And all young people have the skills to succeed in whatever it is they want to do, as long as they love what they do. And that is the most important thing. You have to love what you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a number of people, there's quite a lot of people who are watching this stream right now, so please feel free, if you've got any questions, as I said before, fire them into the Q&A, an opportunity to ask them now to the panel. Dan, I'm going to come back over to you again. We mentioned earlier, we've talked a little bit about some of the technology, but what I think is really exciting, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear, is what sort of technology should e-commerce people in e-commerce be looking forward to now? What sort of things should people be getting engaged with? What should we be doing as we look to the future of e-commerce? But then at the same time as well, what challenges does that present?
Well, so I think the whole social side of selling is going to be vitally important, and it's going to grow more and more as the time goes on. I mean, I think one of the things that have come out of the sort of the pandemic is this move to online social interactions. You know, even now, you know, when we're starting to return to normal, my kids are still playing online. They've got used to this whole like ringing their friend up on their phone and then playing the game. You know, and so the world's shifted, and the way that people interact has shifted. So I think one of the things that I would strongly encourage people to think about is how their customers have changed in the way that they interact with you and their peers around them, and then think about the technologies that they're using, and then thinking about how you can work within those technologies to help promote your business. Now, you know, that's pretty much the process for anything, but I think that the challenge that comes with that is the sort of the social media, those social networks are also challenged in the way that they can quickly become poisoned, and it comes back to this trust and confidence thing. You know, you don't want to let yourself get into a situation where perhaps your brand, your reputation is being poisoned by malicious actors. And you know, we've seen potentially state actors do that for national elections. So, you know, you need to think about how you're going to protect your brand. And so one of the things that I've been talking to companies about is, as you move to these social and online platforms, think about how you're going to protect your brand, because it's not just about the bricks and mortar brand anymore, it's about that digital reputation. And one of the things that we see quite often is the fact that you can take those digital assets that you've created and people can skew them, they can change the message, they can create an online brand that looks very much like yours but maybe has a couple of letters differently, and to trick and confuse people, either deliberately because they're going after you, or just because they're malicious actors. So I think it requires a strategy to think about how you're going to move online and think about how you're going to protect that. And one of the things I always say around anything to do with digital business, whether it's e-commerce or whether it's moving online with your core infrastructure, is think about what's going to happen when it goes wrong, right? The time to kind of go, well, who am I going to ring when my Twitter feed's been taken over, or my Facebook profile's been taken over because somebody's hacked my password, is not then, right? So think about who you're going to have in your phone book that you can ring up and go, look, this has gone wrong. How can you help me get out of that? And one of the things I always encourage is the digital fire drill. And that's not just cybersecurity, that's disaster recovery, that's anything. What would you do if, the same thing, what would you do if something happened in your shop, if you had a flood, or if you had a boiler breakdown or something? What's your emergency response going to be? Because when it's happening, it's not the time to think about it.
And what I can imagine that for a lot, Melanie, you'll hear these examples all the time. I imagine that those challenges, despite the best advice, they must still happen regularly.
Oh, I've just had flashbacks of a lot of things I didn't want to have flashbacks to.
Sorry about
that. That's with my own business, with some of my clients, and absolutely, it is genuinely, that is the thing to do, and I'm so taking that away, and I hope everyone watching is taking that away. But it's having that digital recovery plan, having that disaster plan, and doing that risk assessment, because it is true, these things, no matter how dyed-in-the-wool, how hardcore and experienced you are, it can still happen. I won't name the business, but one of the businesses I worked in, which had a very, very robust cybersecurity program and sort of everything they could do against it, had a security breach, had a data breach. And it's one of these things where it can happen no matter how clean you keep your house. So think about what you're going to do if something goes wrong. And I think that's incredibly sage advice, yes.
And is that something that you encourage at EKM as well, Alison?
It is. I think we're the number in the people's phones when stuff does go wrong, because we have all the things in place to make sure they don't go wrong in the first place. I think also on that is just to remember, if you are online, to not have all your things in one place. So for example, Facebook can shut you down at a moment's notice, Google can shut you down at a moment's notice for breaches or because somebody reports you. So to diversify and make sure you're using every single one of the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, but don't be reliant on them. Make sure you know who your customers are, because they are your customers. Keep them as much as you can on your platform. As soon as you're on any of the other social networks, it's their customers. The same as if you're on eBay, it's the eBay customer. If you're on Etsy, it's an Etsy customer. Whereas if it's your own brand coming to your own website, that's your customer. So to make sure, use them all, make sure you use them all, but don't be reliant on one. Make sure you have your brand across all of them.
The only thing I would like add to that as well is, when you're thinking about how to respond to these things, think about what your customer would like, right? So many kind of emergency response plans, whether they're digital, whether they're bricks and mortar, whether they're cybersecurity, it's all about the business, and actually how you respond and how you support your customer through whatever it is going to really help build that trust and confidence with them. And you see all the time, big companies, small companies, when they get it wrong, you see that dip in trade, you see that dip in engagement. And I think it comes back to the point I think we've all made, is that it comes customer first in every single aspect of your business, whether it's the innovation, whether it's the way you respond, your business strategy, whatever it is. What does your customer think about this particular situation? And having that as a core part of your response plan because they're the ones that pay your bills at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming up to the final moments now. So if there are any questions, please do fire them into the chat, and we'll endeavour to get those answered for you. But as we come to wrap up now, guys, I suppose I'm going to ask you for your sort of final pieces then. I mean, really exciting time to be in e-commerce, lots going on, lots of opportunity. What are your kind of final comments, or what would be that piece of advice if someone came to you now from anywhere in the county and said, I'm going to get going with, I'm going to start my business with in e-commerce? What would be the bit of advice that you would be giving to that person as they look to get started and look to get on the journey? Alison, go on.
I think it's to build your brand and to, as Melanie said earlier, make sure you've got all your information in an Excel spreadsheet from your suppliers or wherever it is that you're getting it from, and make sure that you know who your customer are. It is the basics. So who, what, where, when, how, why, the principles of marketing. And you've got to be there and ready to go. You've got to be where your customer is. So just because you might prefer to use Facebook or your own website to sell on, your customer might actually be on TikTok. So you need to be producing content for that platform as well. So it's those sorts of things really. I think we can all look and think like AI and AR and things are all coming, which they will do, but they're still not, I don't think the users are ready for that just yet. So we'll see things like GTP3, like product descriptions being wrote, and the modelling of products. But I think that'll come from manufacturers. I think small business owners may need to do that if they get their own products, but I think it's the basics. Know who your customer is, know where you want to sell, make sure you build your own brand, and just do it. Just get on with it and do it.
Melanie?
What she said. Plus, no, I think it's really important to have passion about what you're doing. Don't just buy widgets and sell widgets because you can sell widgets online to make money, because that's not how you really grow a business. You need to actually care about what you're selling, you need to care about the people you're selling to, and care about the community that you are going to foster when becoming a retailer. I think retail is becoming more experiential again. I think the high street is going to see more small independents taking over, as we've seen so many of the larger multiples and department stores going online only. There's going to be a real sea change in the next couple of years, and I think that as long as you have that passion, whether you're going to be pure play online or bricks and mortar or a blend, is just having some sort of heart at the core of it, because that will help you foster and develop young people and the people in your community. It will help you build trust and build a relationship with your customer. And if you do all of the basic stuff and have some heart in there, I think you're on a winner.
So just tying it back to the innovation theme of the festival, I think innovation starts with getting ideas outside of your business that challenge you. So one of the things that I would suggest is really starting to think about how you're going out and exploring new ideas for your business. Where are you getting those concepts? Well, how are you spending time doing that? And then how are you then working within your business, regardless of the size, to have those creative conversations about how you're going to use those ideas innovatively to move your business forward. And really trying to avoid the confirmation bias. Like, if you're going out to get new ideas, don't just get the same ideas that everybody else is having. How do you get information that really challenges what you're doing to prove that you're actually doing the right thing? So I think if you're going to develop a bit of an innovative culture, the first step is really thinking about how you go outside your business to get the ideas in, to challenge yourself, really challenge yourself, and then start to foster that community where you can share those ideas either in person or remotely.
Brilliant, thank you. Great summary points and a great overall look at e-commerce and how the county's doing such a great job of innovating in e-commerce. So thank you all of you. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for everyone who's tuned in. A real great look there at e-commerce. I think that Lancashire is a hotbed of e-commerce talent, isn't it? And I think the takeaway points for me are really listening to your customer. The high street is due a renaissance now with independents coming back to the fore. Those big multiples have gone online, so there's real opportunity across the county. do it securely, but go outside of the comfort zone, listen, talk to other people, and generate new ideas, and don't be afraid to take those away, work them up, and innovate in your business. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Alison, to Melanie, and to Dan. Thanks for joining us this morning. Look forward to the rest of the day this afternoon, sessions, some virtual networking sessions with UCLAN, Lancashire Creative Forum, the Lancashire Cyber Foundry. We're talking about emerging technology through the electech sector, and then at the end of the day, Mayor Ellis from Economic Development at Lancashire County Council will be hosting a fireside chat with Mike Gibson and Cam Kathia from the Innovation Board, Lancashire LEPS Innovation Board. So a big thank you to you all, and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll speak to you again soon. See you now.